Welcome to The Sky's the Limit with host Dee Brown, the president and CEO of the P3 Group, the nation's largest minority public-private partnership real estate developer. Here's Dee.
Hello and welcome to this episode of The Sky's the Limit. Joining me on today's show is Ben Baltimore, my chief of staff for the P3 Group. Ben, welcome to The Sky's the Limit.
Hey, nice
Glad to have you on the show, man.
Nice to be here, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, so look, first of all, 23 years old,
Yes, sir.
chief of staff. I want you to just kind of talk about your journey in terms of how you got here. So talk about your childhood. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
Well, I grew up in Clarksdale, Mississippi, a town that we both are familiar with, as
Right.
you're from there as well. I came up, both of my parents were teachers. I was an athlete my whole entire life, so I got a foundation about teamwork, and I was able to build a work ethic, and I was just always able to be deeply rooted in not only community, but brotherhood. Starting with Coach Tyrone when I was about 6 years old. I started playing football. I was always a star student. I excelled from elementary all the way through high school.
Yeah.
But the highlight of just growing up in Clarksdale, I would say, would be playing football with my brothers, and it was a highlight as I was growing up. But as the older I get, the more I realized that I learned a lot of life lessons, playing football from the age of 6 to 18.
Right.
And those lessons carried me through my day-to-day life right now.
So growing up in Clarksdale, Mississippi, a lot of crime for a small community, a lot of poverty,
Absolutely.
more opportunity to do the wrong thing than the right thing.
Absolutely.
What were some of the challenges you faced personally growing up?
I faced a lot of personal challenges growing up in this small town because we are all a victim of proximity, and it's just as easy to get involved in negative things as it is to be involved in positive things. And like I say, football was one of those things that definitely kept me away from the streets. Unfortunately, my senior year in high school, my best friend was murdered. He was a star football player. His name was Davion Hill.
Yeah.
We call him Day 5.
Right.
He was a star football player, highly touted throughout the state. And, he used football as an escape from the streets as well.
Yeah.
And just the inevitable being from that town, you're inevitably going to be either a winner or a loser. And sometimes, the streets can take you down. And not to say my friend was in the streets, but just like I said, proximity,
right,
being a part of that community, people would rather see you be a loser than a winner. And I feel like there was a pivotal moment in my life, to witness my best friend being murdered, and we felt like we did everything to stay away from those circumstances.
Right. I couldn't even imagine what that must be like or feel like to lose a really, really close friend or relative to gun violence. And
Absolutely.
So, of course, I knew Davion because he was friends with one of my sons as well.
Absolutely.
So I can only, I remember the day that we received that phone call. You talked about learning a lot of lessons from sports and football.
Yes, sir.
What lessons did you learn in particular?
Number one lesson I learned in football is you get what you work for in life.
Yeah.
And I learned that playing football because I would always be one of the guys who my parents took us on summer vacation.
Yeah.
And it became a point where I would have to tell my parents, like, I can't go with y'all this summer, because I want that starting spot on the football team.
Right.
I want to be starting on Friday nights when y'all come to my games. And so I learned that taking those small sacrifices, like missing the summer vacation with my family in the summer, would in turn make me a beast on the field. And it would also show my coach that I'm bought in to the process and I'm committed to what they were doing. And a thing I learned around here is pretty much you eat what you kill.
Yeah.
And I pretty much learned that exact concept, on that football field growing up.
Well, I talk to you and the rest of the staff all the time is that about the fact that there are so many lessons that we learn in sports and athletics about winning, about being a champion, about having that winning mentality that you can't learn in a classroom, or that you can't really teach individuals under ordinary circumstances.
Absolutely.
And if a person is able to take that winning mentality, take that mindset, take that championship feeling that you want to have when you play sports, if you can take that and transcend it into your business and professional life, it teaches you how to win off the field.
Absolutely.
It teach you how to win in business, teach you how to win in
Absolutely.
your career
Absolutely.
and everything.
A phrase that my coach would extensively use in high school was, "You're supposed to kill a gnat with a sledgehammer."
Right.
And we just felt like that meant you supposed to go out there and give it your all, and you supposed to kill. You see blood
Right.
and you kill on the
Right.
field. But in business and in my professional life, I've learned that if you have a small task and you put 110% in it, you're definitely gonna get 110% out. And that goes back to my coach telling me you kill gnats with sledgehammers, and I try to keep that same mentality in my day-to-day life.
Right. Well, winning and success start with doing the small things right.
Absolutely.
You know, if you can't do the small things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And that's one of the toughest lessons that individuals have to learn, is that how do you always thrive and pursue excellence,
Absolutely.
you know, in everything that you do.
Absolutely.
And you talk about killing a net with a sledgehammer. You know, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, when we were in Illinois, and we talked about the fact that, okay, I go in and I'm going to do, 8, 9 shows in one day.
Right.
And people say, well, how do you do that? Because I want to kill everything that I touch and pursue. I want to kill it.
Right.
Right. I don't, when I do it and you see me perform, I want you to leave saying, this guy right here is gonna give it everything he got. I want to win.
Absolutely.
I just want to win.
Absolutely.
I'm competitive. I mean, if we giving blood, I want mine to come out faster. I just want to win.
Right.
I want to win on everything I do, man, on every level. But talk to me about your journey on your professional career. You came here initially as an intern, really with no expectations.
Right.
I mean, you didn't even expect to get
salary.
You didn't expect to get a salary. So, but talk to me about when you first started P3 and how all of that played out for you.
It was pretty much like a dream come true. We had a guy, Jarvis Stewart. He was just on your show, SelfMade, on PBS. And as I was reading his bio to brief you for the interview, I read where he got his first job with Senator Ron Givens, and he was a college student at the time, and he said that he sent Senator Ron Givens some fan mail asking to be a part of Ron Givens' team.
Yeah. And
Ron Givens gave him his first shot, and there were a lot of correlations between that story and how I ended up here.
Right.
Because I remember maybe I was 10th grade. I remember begging your son, Jay, like, man, tell your dad to give me a job, a summer job, and to the point where one time you came and picked us up from our field house and took us to Popeye's Chicken, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, been in the car with Mr. Brown!" Like, it's like it was a big deal. But that moment resonates with me a lot because I asked to be here, and I'm here, and so I remember just like yesterday when you flew me out to Miami and I got on your yacht, and I felt like I was being recruited to be a part of an NFL team. And you told me while I was in Miami to have my stuff together, and I was gonna start work Monday morning.
Yeah.
And so I had a layover in Atlanta, and I had like a 6-hour layover. I went to K&G Suits in Atlanta and went and bought me 3 suits to start work here with you. But ever since I've been at the P3 group, man, I came for an internship, and I was hired less than 30 days later with a full-time position on the staff. And I genuinely feel like I have grown both personally and professionally since I've been here. And it's a wild ride, but it's a fun one.
Yeah. Well, so how does it feel? I tell everybody, I say, well, Ben's the celebrity of the company because everybody know you. I mean, they meet you if they don't know me, they meet you before they meet me. So everybody end up, going through you. Everybody know you.
Right.
So how does it feel like, you talk to so many different celebrities. One day you're on the phone with a Emmett Smith. The next day you're on the phone with a Deion Sanders, Omarosa. I mean, this goes on and on. How does that feel?
Well, to be honest, Mr. Brown, it feels surreal to me sometimes because I have to remind myself that, dude, this is the position you're in. Like, honestly, I have to remind myself like that I can call Emmett Smith and ask, can I get a table at his restaurant in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
I have to bring myself to reality sometimes to understand that, like, dude, that's still Emmett Smith. That ain't just your coworker or your buddy,
Right.
But honestly, it's a surreal feeling to know that many people, especially you, my idol, my mentor, have the respect and trust in me to give me those, tasks and responsibilities. And just a funny story, man. One time I remember during the Orange Blossom Classic, which we were the presenting sponsors, a donor wrote a check to the company, and it said to the P3 Group and Ben.
I remember that.
And it's just something I would never forget. And every time I tell someone about this story, they always congratulate me because they're like, dude, you are really doing good. You're in a position where that guy really respects you and trusts you to lead his company. And I appreciate their trust and respect in me.
No, absolutely, man. You've worked hard and you've come a long ways. I mean, I remember the first day that you landed here versus where you are now.
Right.
I mean, 23 years old. You still got a long runway out front of you. So much more you can do.
Right.
I mean, you basically are living the American dream.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to get into some of the fun stuff we do at the company. So talk to me about the first time you came onto SelfMade Super Yacht. What was that like?
SelfMade. I've been on SelfMade a lot of time, but I'm gonna try to tell you guys about my favorite time, and it's just so many. I'm gonna just try to think of an experience on SelfMade because I had so many good times on there. I actually had my first lamb chops on SelfMade. I'll tell you about that one. We were, I think it was during the Orange Blossom Classic weekend. I'd always heard Dewan and Vinay talk about how good Sherry's lamb chops were. And so after a long day of working, of course, I'm always mingling with people. I call it work, but it's actually just me mingling. A long day of us just on the boat with drinks and everything. I ended up putting me up. I had Sherry, who was the caterer, put me up a plate of lamb chops.
Yeah.
And I went back to the kitchen, and someone had ate my lamb chops. And so this was going to be my first time eating the infamous Sherry lamb chops.
Yeah.
But to make a long story short, Sherry ended up having another place somewhere put up for someone else.
Probably mine.
And I was just about to say, let's just say I ate someone else's lamb chops. So that's a funny story I have on SelfMade, amongst many, many others.
So so many different ventures that we work on around here. So, obviously real estate development being our primary business, our primary focus, and really the bread and butter of what made the company what it is.
Right.
But we got outside of the P3 group, which we talk about all the time, we got all these other ventures. What's your favorite one that we're working on outside of the P3 ventures?
It's a lot of them, man. I was on the phone with someone the other day, and I was just going through a list of what we were doing, and then they started bringing up stuff. I'm like, how you know? But I would say my favorite project, with all that we have going on, my favorite project is the SelfMade TV.
Yeah.
The streaming channel we have, and it's because I literally remember I saw this go from concept to reality.
Yeah.
I remember we had a phone call one day. It started at 4:00, and we didn't get out the phone till maybe 11.
Yeah.
But this was the call that initiated the whole SelfMade TV brand.
Right.
And it went from that conversation to me actually downloading, maybe a month later or 2 months later, downloading SelfMade TV on my Roku TV.
Yeah.
And maybe a few days later, downloading it on my iPhone. And when I do everything on my iPhone.
Yeah.
And so when I downloaded an app that I've been working on
Right.
on my iPhone, it was almost surreal to me. And you know, that's kind of that's my favorite project of all
Yeah.
that we have going on, because I understand the impact of media. And when
Yeah.
you can control media, it's power.
It's powerful. It's a powerful
Absolutely.
tool.
Absolutely.
But so through the SelfMade TV development and streaming channel that we're developing, we are onboarding some really, really great African American produced content that might otherwise not have an international, worldwide platform
Absolutely.
to be viewed and seen and enjoyed.
Right.
Have you thought about the impact from that perspective, empowering African American producers and filmmakers to be able to produce films with modest budgets? And a lot of them are really, really good, right? And the only place that you'll be able to see this work product will be SelfMade TV. Have you thought about that impact?
I have definitely thought about that. I had a guy submit some content from my hometown, and I've been watching him. He's a little older than me, but I've been watching his content since he started.
Right.
And it was amazing for me to just think about the fact that, for one, a guy who was older than me, of course, I may have looked up to him. For one, it was amazing for him to have to submit his content to me for approval.
Right.
I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But another thing was just the fact that I understand, like, this guy could really monetize the content that he's been doing for free, on a Black-owned platform. And that was powerful for me, just to know that it's a Black person or Black people out here that are actually sticking their necks out for other Black people.
Right.
So I absolutely love the whole SelfMade TV platform, and it's one of my babies.
Well, but the platform is almost like that whole independent record kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Where artists had that opportunity to figure out, hey, I can monetize my work and I can get more revenue by using this particular methodology, right? So it's really creating that platform for producers and people with creative work products to monetize it to the fullest, and really see some significant revenue, build their authority in the space, and who knows, where a lot of these individuals may end up in the long term.
Absolutely.
But with the SelfMade TV project, we have so many different variables that we are constantly building and integrating. So I can only imagine. So have you thought about like the radio station component that we're working on?
Yeah. And that's another crazy thing. Like I just told you, I love my iPhone.
Yeah.
And to know that I'm going to be able to log into a Black-owned app and pretty much do anything that I'm doing on iTunes or Netflix or YouTube, it's amazing. And the whole radio piece was kind of astonishing to me, because it literally came out of nowhere.
Right.
We're about 2 weeks out from lunch, and I get a call from my boss one day. I get a call that, hey man, I think I want to do a radio station on SelfMade TV, and we literally made it happen.
Yeah.
And we have a moniker around the company that the P3 group is a place where what is it? Difficult takes a day, and impossible takes a week.
Right.
And we do the difficult and the impossible on the daily. And
every day.
And it's just amazing. I love how fast we work, and I love our team. I love that we actually have a team who is committed to the company's overall goals, and that is success.
Right. And that's rare, especially in business, because not only are we creating work opportunities, just think about all the mentorships and all of the experience that individuals are gaining. I mean, look, I don't think people would ever leave the company. We have never had anybody leave, but I don't think individuals leave. But somebody may leave one day, right? But if somebody leave the company, they're going to take a resume with them. That's second to none.
Right. Absolutely.
Second to none. I mean, you have experience with real estate development, booking, entertainment. I mean, so let's talk about some other stuff. So we got HBCU with Dee Brown CEO, SelfMade with Dee Brown CEO, which co-produced by WTVP and PBS in Illinois. That's a nationally distributed talk series for both programs. Now, you saw that come to life too.
Well,
You want to tell the story for the world how we collaborated with PBS.
well, that story ends with me being on this podcast. And so let's just say I got a call into my office, not a phone call. I had a hey Ben call to come back to your office, and you had just left a dinner party in Peoria, Illinois, where you met the CEO of PBS. And when I get in your call, I knew everything about the dinner party, but I didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking you're just gonna kind of debrief me over the weekend that you had in Illinois. And when I get to your office, you hand me a card, and you're like, "Hey, I need you to call this lady and let her know that I'm looking to transfer my podcast to a video version, and I want to have a TV show." And I had a few weeks before this, I had mentioned to you that I wanted to be a chief.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Brown, everybody got chief in front of their name. Let me get a chief.
Right.
And so you say, Ben, if you can talk this lady into giving me a show on PBS, you'll be my chief of staff. I went in my office, wrote down a couple of notes on a sticky pad. I called Leslie Mutazak, the CEO of PBS. I was nervous, so I did not read nothing on my sticky note, and I just let it flow out of my mouth. And midway through me talking, Leslie pretty much said, Ben, you got it. And I walked back into your office and said, Mr. Brown, you're looking at your new chief of staff.
That was funny.
That actually ended me, right here. Right?
Yeah, because I was thinking initially, I said I'm gonna have my publicist reach out and try to put this deal together for me. Then I thought about it. I said, because I get a kick out of like getting you to do stuff that you have never done before.
Right.
Like that, I really get a kick out of it. And so when I gave it to you, I didn't really know exactly how it was going to turn out. I figured, I figured we had some odds, but I figured we would spend some time really kind of trying to negotiate it, put it together, that kind of thing, right? But it was just like, it was done.
Right, absolutely.
It was done. And then we shoot 7 episodes, and at the end of number 6, they say, we want you to do another show.
Right.
And we create HBCU over happy hour, right? We were at happy hour brainstorming about the concept, and both of those programs have cast African Americans, particularly successful African Americans, in such a positive light.
Absolutely,
it's told so many stories about individuals that are out there making a mark on the world, doing things that people sometimes believe may be impossible.
Right,
and these people are doing it and making it happen.
Right, and I just love the word proximity always comes up, but I love to be able to be in those people's proximity. And I spend a lot of time with the guests as I vet them out, number one, and then I pretty much take them through the whole booking process. So I get to know the guests,
right,
and to hear some of the stories I hear and just see some of the stories, see some of the success I see. It's astonishing to me. And more than anything, it is empowering to me to know that a guy could fail the 11th grade twice and become a college president. Another guy could be
failed the 11th grade twice, got a GED.
Yes, get a GED.
Dyslexic.
Right.
Then went on to conquer all of that.
Right. Absolutely.
PhD.
Absolutely.
Law degree. And then the president of a university, college.
More than one time.
More than once.
Right.
More than once.
And to come from the same background, that we come from.
Right.
It's amazing to hear those type of stories, and it really empowers me, and it gives me something to go back to my community and preach to the youth. Or, I may have friends who may not be on the right path, and it just gives me the opportunity to tell them, like, hey man, you're not the only person who failed a grade before.
Right.
Or you're not the only person who had to go get a GED before. Like you still have a life ahead of you.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Those individuals can, or any of us, not just them, but all of us, can have setbacks. We can have failures. We can have circumstances that occur that are beyond our control. But those moments don't necessarily define us.
Absolutely.
It's how we respond and how we rise to the occasion that ultimately define who we are and what we will be.
Most definitely.
So I want to talk about SelfMade Tequila,
Mm.
and of course that's another exciting project.
Yeah,
So what are your thoughts
absolutely.
about SelfMade Tequila?
The SelfMade Tequila. It's just amazing to me to actually know a guy who goes to Tequila, Mexico, and gets his own tequila. It's kind of unheard of, man. But the Self-Made Tequila brand is another exciting brand. You know,
Yeah.
I love working on urban lifestyle brands such as Self-Made TV and
Yeah.
the Self-Made Tequila, because it's kind of it fits well within my age. It's kind of where I'm at in life, where I may like to have a cocktail here and there, or I may like to watch some TV here and there. But the Self-Made Tequila brand it's amazing, man. I can't tell you how many people stop and ask me when I'm at home in Clarksdale, hey, when can I pre-order a Self-Made Tequila bottle? Or
Right.
but actually, I'm a tequila. Tequila is my preference over bourbon or whiskey or anything. I actually like tequila, and so I'm very excited about the launch of our tequila brand.
Well, again, I think the launching of the tequila brand, self-made, Dee Brown CEO, luxury sipping tequila.
Mm-hmm.
Another example of being able to really decide you want to do something and just taking the steps to make it happen.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably the most important thing that everybody within the organization get to see day in and day out. They get to see visions that just start sometime on a napkin, or sometime on a conference call, or sometime on a little sticky note, a sheet of paper. They get to see those visions materialize into reality.
Absolutely.
Step by step.
Absolutely.
Right. And so it's really rare for African Americans in particular to be in a situation to where they can see whether it's a courthouse or a police station or a fire station, see an African American male, a man or organization build these facilities and finance these facilities for the government and lease these facilities to the government. Then to see all these other developments that we create, whether it's self-made TV, whether it's the self-made yacht, charter, business, whether it's the tequila, the self. We didn't talk about the self-made
suits, right?
Self-made suits, right?
Right.
But to see these things just really come to fruition is a testament that here in America, you're only limited by your work ethics, your ingenuity, and your willingness to sacrifice for what you believe in. Those are the only limitations we have.
Absolutely.
And so individuals who are willing to get up, pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and put in that work and stay committed to the process and stay committed and true to the cause, they can do anything they want to do right here in America.
Right.
And I think that's one of the greatest testaments to this organization, this company, that we strive every day to make sure that we are putting our best foot forward, that we stand committed. And it's not, look, this is probably one of the most fun jobs in the world, but it's also one of the most challenging.
Right.
It's a job that is going to push you to your limits.
Absolutely.
I'm going to push everybody to the limits.
Right.
But at the same time, everyone know at the end of the day that it comes from a place of wanting everyone to be successful and everyone to be part of and enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Absolutely. One thing your wife said once, kind of stuck out to me, is that you taught her how to dream big. And I'm not necessarily going to say I wasn't a dreamer before coming here, but another phrase I've heard in life is that the dream is free, but the commitment is sold separately.
Right.
And you show us that we could all dream big, but if you don't have that commitment piece, if you don't have the mindset to put it all together, then it'll only just be a dream on the shelf.
Right.
And I absolutely appreciate those unsaid lessons or not on purpose taught lessons,
right?
Because they actually show me that, just like you said, this is a miracle. We could all pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and be where we want to be one day.
We can choose to make excuses, or we can choose to make it happen.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to close the show out just piggybacking off your dream comment. And of course, you hear me talk about this all the time that, everyone has a dream. Like whatever you want to do, I guarantee you there are thousands of people that want to do the same thing. And so what's the difference between the one that does it and the one that don't? It's that procrastination piece, right? I'm going to get to it tomorrow. I'm going to wait for the perfect set of circumstances to exist before I pursue it. And like I told you, procrastination is the poison that kills dreams. And so as I close the show, and I've given this visual before, so imagine this visual. You're on your deathbed, and and the doctor has told you that you only have moments left to live. And you look at the foot of your bed, and at the foot of your bed, you see all the angels and ghosts that represent all the things that you dreamed of, all the things that you wanted to do, all of your goals, everything are standing there, and they're looking at you saying, you had the power to put us to work, to put us to use, and not just benefit you, but benefit future generations through the legacy you could have created. But instead, you elected not to put any of us to work. The ghosts of your talents, the ghosts of your skills, the ghosts of all the possibilities, they're there and they're looking at you. They said, rather than putting us to use, you're taking us to the grave with you. Ben, thanks for being on The Sky's the Limit. I appreciate having you, brother.
Thanks for having me, Mr. B.
Absolutely.
This has been The Sky's the Limit with Dee Brown, CEO. To find out more about Dee, go to dbrownceo.com or Google Dee Brown CEO. To connect with the P3 Group, check out thep3groupinc.com. The Sky's the Limit is a SelfMade TV original production.